Well, hello there, Skywinders. Welcome back to another episode of Skywind007. On today's episode, we're going to be looking at this. This is the Drive On Dual Dash Cam with ultra wide angle lens. So it has a 3-inch display, the display screen. And of course, as the name suggests, it has two lenses, two cameras, front and back. And it has that screen. And everything else is about what I would say standard. Nothing unusual, I think. So this I'm not gonna focus too much on the software, on how it the settings and menus, because that is standard. So you plug this, you mount this to your car, you put it on your 12-volt connector, and you turn on the engine. Once that connector supplies power to the camera, it automatically turns on and starts recording, and it's going to start loop recording. That means that it's going to create files, and when it runs out of memory, it's going to remove the older file and it's going to replace it with a newer file. That way you'll never run out of memory, but of course you won't have infinite storage. You're just going to have a limited amount of storage. So if you have an accident, you're going to want to get that file before it gets erased. So let's open it up. Okay, so this is the camera itself. As you can see, it has a suction cup mount over here. So that's good news, so you don't have to use that sticky stuff. And it has a ball joint right here, so you can angle it and then you tighten it up over here. So that's fairly standard stuff. This is the screen. This is the rear facing camera, which I believe is a 2 megapixel, which is not a lot, but I'm not even gonna pay attention to that camera. Yeah, 2 megapixel. And the front one is a 1080p. So that one, the front one, which is this one, is HD. So that's good. So let me plug it in, and we're gonna take a quick look. I'm not gonna go too in depth with the settings because that is standard, like I said. So right here on this side you have the micro USB. So it's not the type C that you can put it in any direction. This is the micro USB, only goes in one direction. So already I'm noticing an issue here because I live in the United States, so I'm on the left side of the car when I'm driving. The steering wheel's on the left. So you are gonna have to make this go through the driver's side of the, if you want, or you can do it like that and it'll be at an angle. So it's really up to you. But I'm gonna do it on the, I'm gonna wire it up through the passenger side, but it's gonna look kind of funny, but that's okay. It's no big deal. So normally you plug it in over here. Let me see if it has the memory already. The memory is right there. Okay, so let me plug it in. It comes on. So it's asking me for a date. So we're in 2023. Okay, so here are the settings if you want to look at that. LCD screensaver, auto power off. So the screensaver, I'm going to leave it at 30 seconds. I know you can't see that, so I'm going to read it out. Auto power off. I'm going to leave that at 30 seconds. Beep sound, I'm going to leave that on. Language, I'm going to leave it on English. Daytime, I already did that. Format SD. Let me do that right now. Formatting, okay. And that's it. So there's not a lot of settings. So resolution, I'm gonna leave it on VGA. I'll leave it at 720p, so that'll give me more memory. Passenger camera, I'm going to turn that off because I'm not interested in that. IR emitter, I'm going to turn that off because I don't think it's necessary. That's that lights up the front of the camera, but since it's going to be in a car, it doesn't really matter. Audio record, I'm going to leave it on. Loop record, I'm going to leave it on 1 minute, so it's going to make 1 minute files. Driving impact detection, I'm going to leave that on. I think I better turn that off. That's going to keep making files every time I go over a bump, like a speed bump, and it's going to use up my memory. Parking mode recording, I'm going to leave that on. That means that if somebody bumps my car when it's parked, it's going to start recording and hopefully capture some images. And that's it. Okay, so I turned off the passenger camera because I don't think that's necessary. And over here we have a button there, that red button. At the front we just have this. So this button right here, this red one, that stops the recording. So let me stop the recording. Okay, recording stopped, and I can start it again. So it's recording. Okay, and this right here, I'm not going to touch it, but that's the power button over here. So let me stop recording, and then let me press it and see what happens. Okay, so that turns off the screen. You can turn it back on, and then if you do a long press, it'll turn off the unit. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention is that if you do want to look at the files, you have to long press this button right here. For example, let's do a recording. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I stopped that recording. So do a long press on the M button, and then we have this file. Let's press play. Okay, so I know you can't hear the audio. Let me see if I can raise the volume. It doesn't let me raise the volume, but there's definitely audio there and it sounds good, but I know the camera didn't pick that up. So let me put it on the screen instead. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's basically it. So let's go outside and let's test it out. Okay, folks, so here we are in my sister's car. So it plugs in there, it runs through there, and it comes over here. So this is what I was talking to you about. I think this camera was meant for the UK, India, and Japan. The right-handed vehicles, right wheel. The wheel's on the left here because I live in the United States. So it looks kind of funny, but it's no big deal. So this is how I installed it. So this is how it looks like from the outside. So it's not terribly visible, but if you kind of go in, there it is. But it's not terribly visible. Partly because of the reflection on the windshield. But it's there. If you look in there, there you go, it's there. So let's go for a ride and let's see how it records. Let's see what kind of quality we get from it. Remember, I'm going to do the medium mid-range 720p. So let's go. Okay, so it starts recording. And let's go. Okay, so let's go. And let's see how well this camera can do. So let's try to read this license plate over here. It's SGS 5122. So let's keep going. We're going to make a left over here. Let's see if you can hear the clicking signal. So now let's try to read another license plate. So now let's try to read another license plate. Right here, DMP 8451. So right now it's 4:36 p.m. by the way, so it is daytime. Plenty of daylight. So let's see if we can read a sign over here. I doubt it. Clobber Creek Way. Sorry about that pronunciation. I never pay attention to those signs. Now let's try to read another license plate. GBJ 5341. Here's another one. The Toyota Corolla HDN 6100. Let's do another one. Oh, this place is nice right here. PCY 5300. So let's carry on over here. One last one, the Honda HJL0196. A little bird. Now let's see if we can read that sign over there. It says Clobber Creek Way, so that's the same road we were on previously. Clobber Creek Way. And let's go make a U-turn over here. Let me turn on my blinker, like emergency blinker. See if you can hear it. Right there, you should be able to hear it. That could prove to a judge that you were signaling. So if you get pulled over and the police officer says you didn't use your signal and you created the accident for that reason, well, you can, maybe, I hope you can hear it. Let's do that again. You should be able to hear it right there. Okay, I turned it off. So that's another reason why you might want to have audio turned on. So my advice, leave the audio turned on. Alright, so let's go home, and we're going to be back during the night and see what we can do at night and see how this camera performs at night. Okay folks, so it is nighttime, and we're going to find out how this camera behaves in the dark. So we're going to make a left turn here. And let's go. So let's check out this neighborhood over here because I know it's dark. So let's make a right turn over here. And there's a sign there that says 30 miles an hour. And then there's a stop sign. And the road is called Redstone Court. We're going to make a right. And I picked this neighborhood because it's very, very dark. And I don't know if it's coming out at all. But yeah, here we have a lamp. That way over there, it gets real dark. So I'm going to try to turn off my headlights and see what happens. So let's carry on. And now over here it's completely dark. So let me turn off my headlights. Okay, so that was interesting. So now let's try to read a license plate. And I'm sure it's going to be all, it's probably going to be overexposed. But right here we have RYF7202. Okay folks, so we have reached the end of this review, and there are two things I want to mention about this camera. So the first one is the front and rear videos. As you see on the picture right here, the front and rear are combined into a single image, but in reality when you check the SD card, you're gonna see that the front files and the rear files are separate files. So you cannot synchronize, the camera doesn't synchronize the files. So when you have this the separate videos like that, you can't prove that what happened at the front corresponds to what happened at the back. What I mean by that is that if you get pulled over and the police says that you were talking on the phone before the accident, ideally you would be able to show the synchronized video, the combined video, where it shows the moment of the accident, it shows you, and it shows that you were not talking on the phone. So that would be cool. But the problem is that the camera saves the file separately. So it's really up to you to splice them together with a video editing software. And I don't recommend you doing that. I don't think that's ideal, because now you're I don't want to say you're tampering with evidence, but you're editing evidence. So you could be accused of tampering with evidence, or even supplying false evidence if you don't do it correctly, or you can't prove that you did it correctly. It's better when the camera does that in real time, which it doesn't. The SD card saves files to 2 folders. There's folder number 1, which is the front camera, and folder number 2, which is the rear camera files. So like I said, there's completely separate files, and there's no evidence of where they go together. So it's up to you to guess where they go together. And that's a problem, because like I said, now you have to edit a file and splice, put a video within a video, and then present that to police, present that to the courts. And that's kind of a messy thing that can go wrong for you if you do it. But in the end, none of this matters, because I cannot recommend this camera for the fact that it does not make a continuous video without losing anything. It does lose 1 second between clips. As you know, I set the camera up to 1 minute clip. I presented the video to you, and you probably noticed that between clips it loses 1 second. So every time the camera switches from one clip to the other, it loses a second. So you can sort of mitigate that by making changing the settings to 3 seconds. So now you'll lose less seconds, but you're still losing 1 second. So I know that doesn't sound like a lot, and if you're going at low speeds, 1 second is not a whole lot. You're not going to notice a big difference if you're going at 30 miles an hour. But if you're going at 60 miles an hour or more, 1 second is going to mean a lot. So if you have an accident, you might lose a very fundamental part of the video that proves what happened, that you want to use to prove what happened, and you might lose that. And you're going to end up presenting to the courts a video that's missing a second, and it kind of looks like you did that on purpose. It looks bad, so you're going to have to give an explanation to the court that your cheap camera that you bought loses 1 second between the clips, which is not a good scenario. You want to present a continuous video. And every camera that I've tested up until now has done a good job at sticking together the clips and not losing any seconds, except this one. The worst I've ever had before this one was one that would make a tap between the clips. So when the clip ended, you would hear this, and that's it. But the video was continuous, and it wasn't losing any information. It wasn't losing any seconds. But this one's the worst offender. By any means, this is the worst offender, where it loses a second between each clip. And like I said, a second can be a lot. The faster you go, the more information a second's going to contain. So you don't want to have to be splicing videos together, and you don't want to be losing any information. All the other cameras, they've done a good job at making continuous videos that you can't tell where one clip ends and the other one starts. So I'm surprised that DriveOn, this company, chose a manufacturer that made a defective product. Because like I said, I've been testing them for years and years, and they all do a good job. They don't have that defect. So I can guarantee you that if I return this camera and I buy a new one, it's still going to have that problem where it loses that 1 second. So based on this information, I can safely say that you should not buy this camera. Please do not buy this camera. Get something else, mainly for the reason of that second loss, that 1 second loss between clips. That is completely unacceptable. So I do not recommend this camera. I give it a 0 stars out of 5, and thank you for watching. Subscribe and thumbs up.